Here's something nobody tells you when you decide to sell your house in Fort Myers. The number that you decide to list with and the number that you walk away with are two totally different numbers. And most sellers don't find out that number until they're at the closing table, and by then the train's already gone. Now in this video, I'm gonna walk you through every cost that's involved in selling your house in Fort Myers right now in 2026. Things such as closing costs, commissions, carrying costs, repairs, the stuff that nobody talks about or puts in the brochures. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to expect without any surprises. Sound fair? Let's get into it. Come on. But before we get into this, if you're thinking about selling your home in Southwest Florida, no matter if that's in Cape, Fort Myers, Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Naples, Estero, Lehigh, wherever the case may be, feel free to reach out. Every week, I work with folks who might be in the same spot that you're in right now. Maybe your house might need a lot of work. Maybe you have some bad tenants in there. Maybe it's just been sitting vacant and you're not sure what your next move is. Or maybe you're going through a painful probate process and you have no idea where to even start. Whatever it is, I'm happy to have a real conversation about it. No pitch, no pressure, just shoot me a message. My info's down below. So let's get into it. So let's start with the most talked about cost, which is gonna be the commission. Real estate commissions changed big time in 2024 because of the NAR settlement. The short version is commissions are now more negotiable than it used to be. Here in Southwest Florida, listings agents' commissions typically run between 2.5% to 3% of the sale price. That's now a separate conversation and a negotiating point. My advice, don't fixate on always just paying the lowest commission. What I am saying is fixate on somebody who specializes in your type of home, your type of situation, and can put the most amount of money in your pocket after net. Those always aren't the same thing. On a $400,000 sale, the listing commission alone is roughly about $10,000 to $12,000. Now keep that number in your head. Now Florida is actually more of the better seller-friendly states when it comes to closing costs. But there are still several line items you'll see on a settlement statement that always catches people off guard. Number one, dock stamps on the tax deed. It's gonna run you around 70 cents per $100 on the sale price. On a $400,000 home, that's around $2,800. And you don't get to choose this, that's a state requirement. Number two, title insurance. In most Florida counties, the sellers pay for the owner's insurance policy. Here in Lee County, that's typically the seller's responsibility, and that's regulated by the state. On a $400,000 property, you're looking at around $1,900 to $2,200 for the policy. Now, number three, settlement and closing fees. So your title company or your attorney is going to charge you a fee for handling this. So expect around $500 to $1,000 depending on who you use. Now, number four, that's going to be property taxes. Florida property taxes are always paid in arrears, meaning you owe a prorated credit to the buyer for the portion of the year that you own the property. Depending on your tax bill when you close, this could be between several hundred to several thousand. Now, number five, HOA fees and estoppel letters. Now, if your property is in an HOA, which most properties are in HOA, you're going to need an estoppel letter to confirm there are no outstanding balances. And this will run you about $100 to $350. And if you have any past HOA fees, those are going to get resolved as well. Added up, in the seller side, closing costs, not including commission, often run between 1.5% to 2.5% of the sale price. Now, if you have a property that's not in the best shape or the best condition, or it's just a headache, this is where it gets interesting. Some sellers spend a lot of money and a lot of time fixing things up before they list. New paint, new appliances, landscaping, and sometimes that is the best call, but honestly, sometimes it's not. Because here's the reality in Southwest Florida. There's a very active pool of buyers who specifically seek out homes that need a lot of work. There's sometimes investors, landlords, Airbnb hosts, or there might be a buyer or some guy that just likes to work with his hands and he wants to build some equity. These types of folks don't really need a house to be in perfect condition to move forward and to move fast. If you spend $30,000 on the kitchen, hoping to get an extra $30,000 back after closing, the math almost never adds up the way people think. Sometimes, most times, you recover less than what you spend and you add months to your timeline. In my experience with problem properties, some houses, they're not ready to sell, but that doesn't necessarily mean they can't sell. Code violations, deferred maintenance, tenants who stop paying, I've seen it all. Whatever the situation, there's usually a path forward that doesn't involve pouring money into the place first, which matters a lot when you have that carrying cost ticker ticking and adding up every month. Now, buyer concessions, they're a little different. A buyer might ask you to credit them for the repairs found on the inspection report. They want you to fix things yourself. That's a negotiating point, and often it's a reasonable path. You're not writing a check to the contractor. You're just adjusting the net proceeds at the closing. Sometimes that's a lot cleaner for everyone. Every month, your house sits on the market, sits empty while you're trying to figure out what to do. It's costing you money. Mortgage payments still have to be done. Property taxes, prorated monthly, homeowners insurance, utilities, lawn care, pool care. And in Southwest Florida, just the outside maintenance cost adds up really fast and it becomes to be a headache. Added up on a typical $400,000 home in this area, carrying costs can run you between $2,500 to about $4,000 a month, depending on your mortgage, your balance, and the property. So if your house sits on the market for months and months, which is almost normal for a house, especially if it needs a lot of work or has complications, that's potentially $10,000 to $16,000 in carrying costs alone while you're waiting. That's why I always tell sellers, speed of the transaction matters. Every situation is different and every situation is unique. Just keep in mind, a slightly lower offer that closes in 2 weeks can absolutely net you more than a higher offer with a 90-day close and a pile of contingencies. So what about the mortgage? Let's talk about it. If you have a mortgage, that balance gets paid off at closings and it comes out of the proceeds. And that's usually standard. But here are a few things that usually trip people up. First, your payoff amount is not the same as your current balance. Now your lender, they're going to send you a payoff quote. Now that's going to include interest secured to the closing date plus any payoff fees. It's usually close to your balance, but it's not identical. Second, any other liens that's on the property. Back taxes, contractor liens, HOA liens, those have to be resolved at closing and you don't get the back out of those. A good title company is going to catch them at the title search and they're going to come out of your proceeds. This is actually really important for anyone who's behind on property taxes or has a judgment against the property. It doesn't necessarily kill the deal. It just means those amounts get paid after the closing rather than out of your pocket before the closing. But you need to know that they're there and your agent has to be helping you through this process and getting you through that early. Okay, let's put some rough numbers together on a $400,000 house, for example. Commission, let's say it's 5 to 5.5% total. That's roughly $20,000 to $22,000. Closing costs, doc stamps, title insurance, settlement fees, tax proration, roughly about $8,000 to $12,000, roughly depending on your situation. Repairs and concessions, that's going to be a variable. Could be $5,000 to $15,000 if you're making repairs or crediting the buyer. That puts your total transaction cost somewhere between $23,000 and $49,000 before your mortgage payoff. So on a $400,000 sale with a $250,000 mortgage balance, you might net somewhere between $151,000 to $172,000 before any liens and back taxes. Now those are just estimates, they're not guarantees. Every situation is different, but this gives you a realistic idea so you're not shocked when you see that settlement statement. Now if you want me to run a specific estimate for your property, what your house is worth, what you're gonna net after everything is done, my contact is in the description. No cost, no obligations. And that's pretty much a wrap on the breakdown. I hope this was helpful. So in the next video, I'm going to show you what to do if you have a property that has a lot of problems. Code violations, deferred maintenance, bad tenants, all of that. And why you don't necessarily need to fix all of that before you sell. It's probably the most misconception I run into with folks here in Southwest Florida. And the answer seems to surprise a lot of people. And I'll link it somewhere here on the screen, so go watch that one next. And if you got a specific situation that you want to walk through, you want to talk about, just reach out to me. My info's down below. I'm Craig with EXP Realty, I'll see you guys on the next one.